Like, if you really, like, if you say, what do you think education is? There's an image that comes to your mind. What is it?
You need to really find out what you enjoy doing.
Instead of the math skills, go get life skills.
This might be the biggest thing any of us have created.
You never fail. Have you really succeeded?
All right, we're in, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. I'm so thankful that we had a hang the other week over here at the office. We have Spencer Taylor in the office, who is, when I first discovered you, it was like Ironman athlete, plant-based Ironman athlete. And from there, I was like, oh my God, like, this is rad. Because I've wanted to do
we were talking about
at least a half Ironman to try it this year, right?
Yep.
So I saw that, and then you know, you got your show with Logan Paul called Impulsive, which is amazing. We'll talk about that. But also, most importantly, you've been on this bus called the Student Debt Destroyer, going all across the country. It brought back so many memories for us of 2 years ago being in a bus. And I was like, this kid is hitting on so many things that I'm passionate about and that I like. We have to get him in. We have to talk to him. We had an amazing hang. Yeah, we connected in the office, and I love everything you're about. I love everything you've been doing, like, for education and awareness around this conversation with student debt and the whole thing. It's so important to have. So thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Dude, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. This, from the moment I walked in here, the first time we met, I'm like, this is goals. You guys got all the boys just getting work done. Like, this is a spot.
It's a fun lab, dude. Yeah, it's like a little creative.
So you guys just got like all your companies together. You're just growing them, helping each other out.
Yeah, this podcast room is definitely the coolest room. One of the coolest
100%.
rooms in this place. Yeah, 100%. I would say so for sure. But yeah, it's just, we have fun here, man. We got Find Your Grind out of here. We got the music company out of here. We got an animation thing out of here. You know,
I love it, man.
A lot of fun stuff.
I love what you guys are doing. I think, you know, look at this dog, bro.
Yeah, that's Luca. He's trying to get into our podcast right now. Luca, give us an hour, buddy.
I mean, he can come in if he wants.
Yeah,
I mean, he can probably add some value.
Yeah.
But so I got a lot of things going on. The podcast with Logan. You know, the education tour, like you mentioned. So I have been really passionate about education, and that kind of came from my experience through education. It was kind of shitty, you know. I think, like, probably everybody here can relate. There's aspects of education that just feel very monotonous and very, you know, like you're studying for a test and you get to do what you love like 10% of the time, if that. And so I've just been passionate about it, man. I really want to change the education system in any way I can. Yeah. And I think, like, you guys are discovering, podcasts are like one of the best ways to actually do that.
Talk about it.
To actually be the change, you know?
Have you always been this guy? Like, you're like healthy dude. I'm sure you ran 26 miles today, but you like...
No, I ripped out 4. Ripped out 4.
Okay, 4, yeah. You say. But like, have you, I mean, I guess take us back a little bit, like to early days in high school or something. Like, where did you grow up? What was your family situation like? Like, were you always this guy?
Dude, no, I'm still like lame, bro. I'm still lame. I'm not cool. Like,
he's not lame.
You guys just had like a guy that snipes people for like,
but
like I have to follow that up.
He's plant-based too.
Which is dope. Like, I'm not cool compared to him. All right, it's a hard act to follow. But I no, bro. I was very like quiet, very reserved, very shy. Lacked confidence. Like there's and I still am like overcoming those things. I'm still dealing with those. But yeah, I've just always been passionate about film, about you know, documentaries, and I think that I've just stuck with that, and it's led me to some really cool places.
Yeah. So you grew up in Michigan?
Yeah, I grew up in Michigan, Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I went to school at Michigan State.
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
You went to Michigan State?
I did.
The green one, the Trojan?
So Spartan.
That's
close,
Spartan. Sorry. So as a young kid, did you start like doing documentaries and start doing film stuff like when you were in high school?
So I started. My family had a camera, like a VHS camera that you like pop tapes in.
Oh yeah,
dude. And, I like. How old are you?
I'm 26.
26. Okay. Yeah. I mean, why was VHS was around?
Yeah, so I'm 33. You know? I used to film snowboard videos on those tapes.
So cool.
So we'd have the tape, we'd have the fisheye lens.
The mini tapes, right?
Yeah, and then you just rewind it and watch it, rewind it and watch it.
Yeah, and if you mess up, you can't, you have to literally rewind it and refilm.
100%.
You know, so yeah, my family had one of those, and then I just was shooting on that with my sister all the time, making stupid, funny videos that will probably get unearthed at some point. We do got to put those online. They're really funny.
I want to see those.
Oh, you have like a huge backlog of. Did you ever send like your videos to like funniest home videos or anything stupid like that?
We could, dude. There's some good ones in there.
I just always feel like I picture like middle American kids, like Ohio, Michigan, like oh, we're gonna do a video and we're gonna send it to the funniest home videos and we're gonna win $500.
Oh yeah. Every family, dude. That was like the goal.
For sure. Yeah, we have like we watch Jackass, and you can tell like our videos, like we even had the Jackass theme song like playing in the beginning of some of our videos, like running into pine trees and like doing flips on sleds down hills.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because like I spent a lot of time with those guys like over the years growing up, and it's so funny that like they were literally like, I know for a fact that these guys are going to be gray haired and they're going to put our movie out.
Oh yeah.
And we're all going to go watch it. Our whole era of like kids and what we did was all like, all right, let's do stupid stuff and let's film it because those guys were doing it.
Yeah.
So
and
true.
people created so many careers because of that.
100%.
You know, like Jeff
100%.
Tremaine, when they pieced that thing together, I don't think they realized how big the outscope of everything that's coming. Even like the world that you live in today is like those kids created funny videos from something that happened before there was YouTube.
Yeah. I think Jackass and Rob Dyrdek were like the biggest inspirations for me because just like they didn't give a
No.
They just put out whatever they wanted. They beat the crap out of each other. And obviously it's like not all the best stuff that you probably want to be having kids watch. But I think what motivated me is just this lifestyle of, oh, I don't have to work a 9 to 5. Like I could like make videos with my homies and like, you know, that could be a lifestyle. I think just for me, the potential of that happening was enough for me to pursue film. I was like, I don't want to do any of this stuff. I'll try that though.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful that I did.
Yeah.
Did you go, so high school, you knew you were going to go to college?
Yeah. I'm a third generation Spartan on both sides. So it was like ingrained in me to go to college. And so I ended up having the opportunity to swim at Michigan State, and I got accepted like barely because they saw my schedule my senior year. They're like, oh, he's not doing anything like hard because I was just doing all film classes.
Did you get like good grades? Were you into school?
I got decent grades.
Yeah.
I would say
you got by.
B's and C's.
You got by.
Yeah, B's and C's.
One of us.
When I got into college, bro, it was like C's and D's though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would like skip classes all the time.
Right.
Like I hated school, man.
Yeah.
I hated school, and I actually dropped out of Michigan State my senior year.
Okay.
Wow.
So, but that like
So I don't even have my degree. I went there for 4 years. I'm still paying it off. I don't have my degree.
And we're about to get into that heavily, but what did your family of 3 generations on both sides think about that?
My grandparents don't know that I don't have my degree. Good thing they don't watch this kind of stuff. I mean, maybe my grandma is.
Wow.
No, my grandparents don't know. My parents, they were actually pretty accepting of it because I didn't just drop out and like not do anything. I dropped out and I got a job working with Bob Proctor, who's like a public speaker, author. So I started working with him, and I was getting paid really well. And
how did that happen? How did that happen?
Dude, that's a whole separate story. I mean, in short, I was like just like any other college student, like broke. I had literally negative like $163 in my bank account, and I was just miserable. I hated school. Like all that was fun was football games or basketball games and partying, and that was it for me.
Yeah.
And I stumbled across a book by Napoleon Hill called The Laws of Success, and I started reading that. My friend was reading it at the time, and he had it like highlighted all over the book, and I was like, damn, like this is kind of interesting. And he was super successful in college. He was making like $250,000 a year with his business. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna read that book. Like, yeah, let me check it out. So I ordered it from Amazon. It came in like 2 days. I started reading it. And that book just completely changed my mind.
Wow.
Like, I really had a massive, massive identity paradigm shift from my way of thinking, which was very limited, very fear-based, very, like, you know, society influenced, to, oh, I'm going to think my own way. I'm gonna change my way of thinking.
Crazy.
And as soon as I shifted to that, bro, it was like I started getting invited to all these different events, and I started getting, I was filming at these events, and Bob Proctor was speaking at one of them, and I got to go meet him. And he was like, oh yeah, we're looking for somebody to do video. And so I applied and I did some work for free with him in Toronto, and they hired me.
Wow.
They hired me probably about 2 months before I graduated. And I was just like, yo, I'm dipping. Like, I don't want to be miserable.
2 months before you graduated.
Yeah, I was failing a class, and so I wouldn't have gotten my degree.
Yeah, and
I was failing like some easy class too. Yeah. Like it was just something where I wasn't showing up.
Yeah.
What was the degree you were trying to get?
Media and information. So it's like a communications degree. So it's literally the easiest degree.
It is?
Pretty much. Yeah.
And dude, you went to go do it basically on your own without a degree.
Yeah. And so when I got to Michigan State, and nothing against Michigan State, but the first class that I took there, we started learning on a camera that shot on tapes. And so I had already, at this point, I'm already, in high school, we're shooting on digital, we're shooting on some tapes, but then we get here and I'm like, oh, we're going to learn how to edit. We're going to learn how to do like After Effects and like graphic design and like all this cool stuff. And then they're like giving us ancient technology and telling us like, this is a medium shot. This is a wide shot. And I'm like, I know this stuff.
Yeah,
like I've been doing it. But like, I don't need to do this.
Yeah. That's how it was for me in music school too. When I went to MI, I was like,
I'm sure
everyone was so scared to touch the like sound equipment in the soundboard because like if they were to touch the wrong button, they'd get like in trouble or the wrong grade. And it's like, dude, that's not how it works. Like you go in the studio and you like figure it out and you listen and you turn things and you make it happen. It was just like, totally weird.
Why do you think they do that?
I think school is just always a step behind. Like I think we can dive into that more, but like they're always a step behind because they're trying to, they're trying to predict the future, and they're generations behind.
Yeah.
They're telling us, oh, you need to learn how to shoot on film and tapes and like don't get me wrong, like some of that stuff is cool and it can help, but if I'm going to pay premium money, I want to get the most relevant,
which people are.
This is what's in. I want to learn that kind of stuff. And I think school is just dated, man. I think it's just like, it's simple. Like older people run these schools and therefore they teach stuff that's just dated.
Yep.
Like they lived in a world that was way more predictable. Like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, you could kind of predict the future. Now you can't. Like, I don't know what's going to be out next month. I don't know what's going to be out next year.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, like the system doesn't support the way the real world is today, right? I feel like there's a lot of good people out there and good teachers and good people in the system that want to do great things for people and that want to bring those type of resources into the classroom, but just don't know either how or whether it fits into that standardization type of thing that they're being told to do, right? Because they have to teach a certain way in order to graduate kids out of their class. Like, so I think it's a bit of like, the system and almost society too, like less on schools, right? And education being the problem in a sense, but more about like as a society, why aren't we implementing the things that are necessary for schools to help, you know, like,
but we're also like a lot more populated now too, right? And I think you're right, 50 years to 100 years. But like, especially here in America, the American dream used to be the middle class, used to be able to put their kids through college, and the degree they got in college would get them a job. And that was the middle class. Yeah. Now we're seeing the middle class being torn apart. Like there's little to no middle class in America. Yeah. So then you've got that like 1% or that like 10% of the country say that even now the money that they're giving to go and get that college degree, those jobs aren't available for a lot of those degrees now, right?
Right.
So then kids are deferring to have to get another degree on a job they may never use. So it's like the system that was told would work, necessarily it did work a long time ago, but as we move into today's world and the jobs and how everlasting and ever changing everything is, the jobs are so quick turning around. And it's like the biggest one now is like you go into like IBM or Microsoft with these people. Silicon Valley's like, you don't need a degree of any sort.
No.
If you're smart, you can come work for us.
Yeah, well, even for you, it was like, what, 5-6 years ago, you didn't get hired because of your degree.
No.
You didn't even
I've never had to show my degree. I mean, I've never had to, like...
So let's go back to when you first got hired.
Well, really quickly, I was watching some of your content the other day, and there was an amazing statistic on this topic that was like 3%, like the value of a degree in terms of how it brings real-world economic stability has increased by 3% since 1994, but the cost of college education...
Since 1980.
since 1980, but the cost has increased by 237%.
Yeah, like over 213%.
Because I'm the same as you. I'm the same as you. I don't have a degree in any sort, but I've worked since I was a teenager, and I've worked in all sorts of different industries. Yeah, those jobs aren't the jobs that teachers would be like, oh, that's a job you can go get. But I ended up there because coming from an industry of being a pro athlete into this world of like, oh, there's television, there's media, there's this, that. I've been hosting events since I was like a teenager and making money. Nobody's ever said, hey, like, what degree do you have?
Right.
Zero.
Well, I think where it starts is, and I'm shocked because this is like, we call it the education system, but if you ask, I would say 99% of people, they don't even know what education is. Like when you really ask them, based on the definition of where it comes from. So the word education comes from the Latin word educa, which means to draw out or to develop from within. So when you look at traditional mainstream education, they don't know what education is. They're forcing things in. They're telling you, you need to know this, take this test, take this test. And they're not even stopping and saying, wait, what is education? Like kids don't know what education is.
Yeah, I love that.
When you think of education,
they think standardization probably, right? Like standardized testing.
Yeah, they think testing
to get through. And
they think a teacher standing in the front of the room. Like if you really if you say, what do you think education is? There's an image that comes to your mind. What is it? Like for a lot of people, it's a teacher standing at the front of the room telling you what to do. You're writing stuff down. You're taking a test. That's schooling. Education is developing from within. Like you, for example, you found what you loved, which is inside of you, not, outside.
Yeah.
You found happiness, and that's led you to, success. That's led you to fulfillment in your career. You too.
I love that.
So I think that's what's mind blowing to me is like, it's simple stuff. Like when you really break it down, it's very, very simple. And to your point about, when we're talking about like the 1950s, for example, and we're talking about this factory model of education, and you look at nowadays, we don't need that. We don't have factories. Factories are being dominated by robots, and that trend isn't going back to like
it's not going backwards.
No, we're gonna have more robots. Yeah. Like more jobs are gonna be automated. So, I mean, it's insane. And a college degree now is just as common as a high school diploma was in the 1950s.
Wow.
But the cost of that, right, the value of it has gone up a few percent, maybe 4%. But the cost of it has gone up hundreds of %.
Yeah, so that was a crazy stat. Yeah,
that's what I think we really have to understand in the world we live in. If you really want to put yourself in a position, like I'm behind. I'm 26 and I feel like I'm behind.
You're not.
I
You're
agree.
making me feel.
He's a high achiever.
You're a very high achiever, and we're gonna get through that and figure out how you become such a high achiever. Because it's so interesting on the statistics of someone that got within a few weeks of graduating from that and then went in this whole direction, and now you're peeling back all the information. How was that first step? Did you move to Toronto?
I did, yeah.
How old were you?
I was 21.
Right.
21.
And that's kind of the beginning of your journey here.
It was, yeah. I was living by myself in Toronto. Actually, Bob Proctor was really cool because he built a studio in his backyard. So he had like a separate house. And he built an editing bay, like 2 cameras came down from the ceiling. And Bob is 80, I think he's 84 now. Wow. And so Bob like kind of took me under his wing as a mentor because he liked my passion and I was making videos for him and building his social media. Moved out to Toronto and just grinded out there, honestly. Just made a ton of videos for his company, and that was really my introduction to social media, was bringing, the knowledge that I was reading about in college, I was bringing it into the 21st century through digital.
Yep. And then how did you make your next step?
So, dude, honestly, I live my life with intuition.
Yep.
If I'm feeling like called to go do something and I'm feeling like, I don't like to be stagnant for too long. Like for me, I don't do well living in one place for, more than like a year. Like I get stir crazy.
Yeah.
And I had lived in the Midwest my whole entire life. And, I was sick of winters. Like I was really sick of winters, bro.
I was in New York for 3 days and I was like, get me out of here.
You're like, screw this, bro. Yeah. I was there for a long time. So like my whole life. And I was like, I kind of want to just like move to Los Angeles because I was working remotely at the time. Yep. Like I didn't need to be in Toronto. And so I was just like, all right, I'm just going to move to Toronto. So I got a little Airbnb. I actually hopped on Airbnb and I was looking for like a single person home, and I get there, I move in, and I find out the guy is still living in the other room. Like, he didn't market it correctly. Like, this is back when Airbnb was like kind of new. I was like, are you staying here, bro? So it was interesting. I moved by myself to LA. I knew no one, and I was just living out of this like little house like 5 minutes outside of LAX, because I was just like, oh, I'll just be close to the airport.
Yeah, literally in the thick of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like the worst place ever.
Worst place ever. I was like, yeah, I'm going to just go for a run. I'm like, holy shit, this is not a good idea, bro. It's not the move. But yeah, I moved out here, and I just started, I didn't need money because I was working remotely.
Yep.
So I started to hear about like Vine and all these different content creators. Like, this is around the time when a lot of people from Vine were switching over to Instagram.
Yep.
And so I got invited to a shoot with Jake Paul, and I didn't know who Jake was at the time. It was one of my buddies. He brought me into it, and then I went to the shoot with Jake, and it was in Arizona. He was filming like some pilot. This was around the time where he was working with Disney, and him and I really hit it off. So I started
Midwesters.
Yeah. He's from Ohio, and Jake and I really hit it off. And then he was getting ready to launch a company called Team 10. And so I came in as his original videographer to help him kind of like just get stuff started. Yep. And I just had a blast, man. He was the first young person that I found out here that was like down to just make content and like do crazy stuff. And I was like, all right, this is my tribe. Like, I'm gonna work with him.
Yeah.
I got to we brought him to a NASCAR event a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Wait, you're from Ohio?" We got a lot of friends from Ohio. Something about Midwest people.
About Ohio. Where both
Nebraska,
you guys from?
Right? Nebraska, like it.
You're Nebraska.
Oh no, I'm Australia.
Okay, Australia.
I'm
I was gonna say you sound a little.
He's Laguna Beach,
non-Nebraskan.
Southern California, Laguna Beach.
That's right. That's right.
And then we have another partner, Mike, who's from Nebraska.
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time in Nebraska. A lot of time. So we know cold and flat
and corn.
Yeah. Corn.
Cold and corn, bro.
But I've always said I like Midwesters because they work hard. Derek's from the Midwest. Machine Gun Kelly's from the Midwest.
Yeah.
Jake and Logan are from the Midwest. They're like,
dude, I think it's something from like that Cleveland, Detroit, Kalamazoo, all these different areas where when it gets cold, there's no mountains, first off, so you can't really like do anything.
Yep.
Like, the most fun thing you'll do is shovel your driveway. And that's not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Sucks,
You're
bro.
not fun.
It sucks.
So you've come to LA. You've kind of manifested your way and how you got here. Now you're hanging out. You've met Jake. You met Jake and Logan. When did you start creating content like with those guys, or turn that into the podcast?
Yeah. So I only had met Jake, and I was doing videos for Team 10, just like anything he needed. I wasn't charging him any money. I was just like, dude, I just want to have fun and like create stuff.
Can I stop? Like, that is one thing that kids need to know is working for free is not working for free. And I used to do this back in the day too with announcing. If someone gave me a job, they're like, we don't really have a budget. But I'm like, I can be with somebody of stature or somebody that's higher than me. Do it. Totally. Always. You're
100%.
You're not working for free by working for somebody and not getting paid. Like, that is the number one thing.
I love
that.
Yeah. I'd 100% agree with that. I think like it's not smart to work for free forever. Like, I was making my money, and so then I didn't need to monetize every area of my life. And I think that's something that was really important. I think if you're gonna try to get started in some career, you have to stand out.
Yep.
You have to be really talented. You have to be talented, but you also have to do something that's gonna make you you have to be available. And ultimately, you got to be willing to do like the dirty work and like get in there and just do stuff for free.
Totally.
Luckily for me, I had fun doing it. Like, anytime Jake hit me up, I'm like, yo, let's do it. I would toss out ideas. He would be down. Like, it was a really, really healthy relationship.
Because in situations like that, you can backtrack it to like, all right, somebody going to school and getting a degree. You're not getting paid to get that degree. But right now, you're working for free. You're not essentially getting paid directly, but you're also working towards your diploma of whatever you want to do.
100%. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, you never know when it's going to come back too. Like, I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of people are like, oh, if I don't make money now, then it's not worth it. But it's like, everything's energy to me. Like, if you're going to put time and energy into somebody's brand, you're creating something of value, that's going to come back.
Yep.
It might not come from that person. It's going to come back though.
Yep.
And I've always lived that way. Like, when I was working with Bob Proctor, like that was my concept all along.
I love that.
So yeah, I started doing stuff for free for Jake, and then I just developed a really good relationship with him. I started working with some other influencers, And then one day, Jake introduced me to Logan. This is around the time where Mark Donor stopped working with Logan. And this is like 2017, I think, somewhere in there. And so I started working with, I worked with Logan for like a week filming vlogs. This was all during, kind of off to the side, I was working on this passion project for education, a documentary. And I was like, getting ready to work full time for him. And then I kind of had the realization, I was like, I need to focus on my doc and I need to focus on like other stuff. Like daily vlogging is a lot of work. So I kind of peeled away. And that was when he hired Brendan North. So it was interesting, like looking back, I'm glad it went the way it did because Logan had his issue in January and I wasn't a part of it at that point. And I kind of came in after to help him put some content together. But yeah, I worked with him for that week, and after he kind of went through this whole issue that he went through, that's when I stepped in and he had me come in and help him make a documentary because he knew I was working on a documentary. Yeah. So yeah, it was. I came in after that to help.
I think
him out.
the number one thing that every young person wants to be is like a YouTuber, right?
It is.
I mean, it's like, of course, we hear at the influencer, the YouTuber, but like, why do you think that they stood out?
It's like over like 75%.
Like, because you were, I know, but you were in that scene. Like, what advice do you give to some young kid that, because you hear it all the time, right? It's like, and these kids were probably just making like funny content, like going back to the Jackass days and stuff. It's just like I'm putting things out.
Yeah, we've had this conversation a lot. I've talked to Logan and Mike about this. I think if you're gonna be a YouTuber, just make content. Like if you really truly enjoy doing it, put videos out, make it,
be authentic,
be yourself. And I think there's a lot of kids, like there's a huge percentage of kids that just watch it and they're like, ooh, I want to be famous. Mm-hmm. Like they more so want to be famous than they do want to be a YouTuber. Mm-hmm. And I think the desire to be famous, like especially in the world we live in, you just get exposed. You look like an idiot. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is don't do it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. Like if you truly want to be a YouTuber, just make YouTube videos. Like you can be a YouTuber very easily. You just get on YouTube for free and post a video. You're a YouTuber. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need to be famous. Yeah.
Like so you jumped into making this doc. You're like, I'm making an education doc. Idea spawned. You just went out and did it. What was the process?
Dude, so it was at a Bob Proctor seminar that I was at back in like 2015. I was just like, you know what?
Good old Bob, man. Bob's tying back to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, Bob, he's a legend. He's a legend.
we love Bob.
Yeah. Shout out to Bob.
Bob is the man. So I was at an event and the idea came to me. I was like, you know what? I'm really good at documentary. I want to change the education system. So hey, I'll make a documentary about the education system.
Yeah.
Why?
That's really how it started.
Why did you want to change it?
Just my experience. My experience was just like, I learned everything I know today through mentors and through YouTube or just like doing things. I attribute almost 0% of my success to school. Yep. Like I really don't remember much. I know some stuff helps you, like some of the thought processes, but man, I see. Yeah, and I'll give you a study that's actually in the film. So this will be like a little exclusive thing. There's this guy named Dr. George Land, and he created this study. He was actually hired by NASA to figure out. He was there to like identify the most creative people in NASA. So he created this super simple test to find out who was the most creative people because they needed them for a project for something. And so he created this test. It worked really well. So they're like, yo, let's try this on some kids. Let's see if like we can actually find out how creative they are. So they did it on, I think they found 1,600 or 18, I think it was 1,800 students that were at the age of 5. And they did this test and they found that 98% of them tested a genius level for creativity. And then so they did the same test 5 years later with the same kids at 10 years old. Yep. That had dropped to around 30%. And then they did it when they were 15, that dropped down to 12%. And then they have done this test many times with kids over the age of 25. It's down to like 2%.
Yeah, it just gradually goes lower and lower.
So that's why I wanted to do it. I found just through, simple Google search and YouTube, I was like, creativity is being destroyed by the education system. And I don't think people understand how systematically dangerous that is to our planet and to our future. Like if you don't have creative individuals, you have a very planet.
Yeah. And I think like to that point, creativity comes down to so much of like the individual, right? Yeah. Everyone has their own creative individualized path, which unfortunately there aren't systems in place to like teach to the individual necessarily. It's you're taught in a group setting, right? Of like the same thing when we're all different learners. We consume content in different ways. We're all, are unique individuals. I think there need to be more individualized, personalized type of materials out there to like really help people in their journey. Cause that's 100%. A crazy like stat, man. It's just like dwindling down there.
Wow.
And then when you look back at what universities, like when they were created, especially in the U.S., they were all free. When they were first created in the U.S., they were free.
Yep. And then can you believe that, by the way? They were free?
Yeah, they still are in some other countries.
Yeah. we only started monetizing that like recently.
Yeah.
And like I just saw an article from Harvard, like we're supposed to hit $2 trillion of student debt by 2021.
Yeah.
Like do you think it'll ever get canceled out? What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know. I really don't know.
Because you've got Bernie Sanders saying, hey, like, we bailed out Wall Street. We can bail out the education system. This one's just as big.
I mean, that was going to be a question of mine, too. Like, what were your biggest learnings on the student debt bust destroyer? Like, what was that? Because you had all kinds of these conversations. I'm sure there was thousands of them. But what were your biggest takeaways? Like,
I think our purpose was really to give a voice to a lot of students and just hear people out and just learn a little bit more. I mean, the problem's pretty self-explanatory. It's not like a deep problem. It's like you don't really have to do much research, to be honest. It's just there. I think what was really surreal is just how many people it's affecting. And if it's not affecting someone, like if they're not willing to talk about it, it's still affecting them. And it's still like haunting them in a weird way. Like there's so many people or they don't even want to confront it, like they're like going to school and their parents are maybe like taking care of a little bit of the bill and then they get dropped on their debt once they leave. It's something that nobody wants to talk about, man. It's like the elephant in the room. Like me talking about student debt and like putting it out, people are like, I don't really want to talk about that.
And then also like by doing that, the big schools don't want that either.
No, bro.
That's like
when we were parked outside of Colorado State, they're like, we accidentally parked outside of their financial aid office. And they came out, they're like, hey, what are you guys doing out here? What's going on? And we're like, oh, yeah, we're just making a documentary about student loan debt. And we're spreading awareness. They're like, is it positive awareness? Like, yeah. Like, what's up?
I don't know if there's a way to, like, totally, you can't wipe it off the map.
You can. I think you can.
You do? Okay.
I think, to be honest, I think what Bernie's laying out makes sense. Like it does. I think
because he's going after Wall Street.
Yeah, right? he's putting a tax on like capital gains or something from the stock market. It's some very small tax. I'm not an expert of how the economics work out. I think what I'm a little more nervous about is if you wipe out that debt, all those kids are going to do is get into debt. They're just going to go get into like auto debt. They're going to go get a house. They're going to get into debt. It's
in some other way.
Yeah. They're going to go consume. And that's my opinion. I don't think that wiping the debt solves the problem. And financially, you got to think like when you're wiping out the debt, who are you actually paying? Right. Cause he's saying, oh, we got to go after Wall Street. We got to go after them, blah, 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 blah. But when you look at who controls the debt right now, it's not the students, because the students took out the debt.
Yep.
They paid the university, so it's not the university.
Yep.
It's the banks.
Yeah.
And the banks are the ones that we bailed out in 2009.
Yeah.
So, like, if you pay off the debt, it bails out the banks.
Again.
Again. So, like, to me, that's not the problem. What I would like to see is everybody just collectively just being like, no, we're not going to pay that.
Right, because if that happens, what are they going to do?
That's like,
let's go. And come on, where's the petition? Caleb, get the petition.
Just everybody stop paying their debt. If you all did that at the same time, the banks would truly get what they deserve. Like we bailed them out in 2008, which was stupid. Shouldn't have done that. People should have gone to jail.
Yeah, like there should have been a lot of people go to jail. The people that should have gone to jail ended up putting like hundreds of millions of dollars in their pocket publicly.
And they racked up the student debt. They're the ones who did it. They're the ones
so it
who
didn't
did it.
help, but America needed that at that time. I remember in 2008, we had a snowboard clothing company. I remember being in Boston. It was like September. We were on some snowboard film premiere. I was like living in our bus on the other side of the country, and I was like, man, like America's about to shut down.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's like right
doors
now
are closed.
Yeah. Right now we're in such a like economically like thriving time too. So it's hard to fathom that.
But we never know. They say again, are we teetering another crisis like that? And they say, yeah, it's just around the corner. And when that was just around the corner in 2008, the people that lost out then, who were they? Middle class people.
Middle class, yeah.
That got given loans on that was going to default, and the banks knew they were going to default on that because they knew they were not going to have a job.
I think it really comes back to, in my opinion, I think we're having the wrong conversations. And I think like anytime we turn to politics to solve things, I think we're already not doing
in
the right
wrong
thing.
world.
Yeah, right. I think that's my opinion.
I agree.
I think politics can do some great things. Don't get me wrong. I think like they can really, if they're looking out for the people like how they should, then good things can happen. But I think we can take our power back into our own hands without politics.
Yep.
And that's my personal belief.
I dig that.
Another question I have is, you spend a lot of time now out in there with college students. Do you think colleges now, and obviously you do, but like the degrees they're giving, they know that these degrees are never going to be used. So what do they do about that?
I think they're getting better at that. I think they statistically, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I know they are getting better with that. I think something like 70% of degrees are actually like being used. I mean, it's still not like great, but I think the problem to me is in the fact that very few percentage of people who are graduating are getting jobs in their field of study.
Yeah.
When I graduated in when I left school in 2015, which I still got to walk, by the way. So I still got to like experience graduation.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got footage of it with the GoPro. It was lit.
Yeah.
But when I left school in 2015, I remember it was like 18% of college grads in my graduating class got a job in their field of study. And to me, that's a huge problem. Like we're bragging right now economically about how employment rate is so low and, students are thriving. And it's like, no, they're not. They're getting a job,
totally.
No offense, but they're working at like Qdoba or Starbucks and they have a college degree.
Yeah.
Or they're working at a restaurant. Like I know Caleb has friends that like they work at the same restaurant he was working at, and they came back from college and they told him to go to college. And he's like, what? No, bro, you just got back from it.
And I think a lot of young people don't realize what they're going to be paid in that entry level position of wherever they've studied to be able to pay off the debt that they've taken on.
Yeah.
Like when you get into that entry level position, your salary that you're going to make, even if you find a job in a specific area of where you've been focused on in college, isn't going to be able to pay for the amount of debt that most of these kids have even taken on. Mm-mm. So it's this kind of like cat and mouse just...
I think what I would do from a policy standpoint is I would make it illegal for you to require a degree on a job that's presenting minimum wage or any like low wage. There's got to be some wage that you can figure out. Like that's the legal amount that you can ask for a degree. And I think what's going to happen, I think this crash that you're bringing up, that you're talking about, I think it's going to come in the form of, that student debt. Like people aren't maybe not going to be able to pay it off. Like there's going to be too many people in debt. And then I think the college system is going to crash. I think that's what's going to crash.
Right. And then like, cause I kind of agree with you and I kind of see that coming. And like when that comes, what do the colleges do? Do the colleges then like think about like changing their format of like, do you need to be there for 4 years? Do you need to be there for 6 years?
It's the cost to keep the college running, right? Comes from these students who are like paying for it and other areas. But once that stops happening, it's like, you're right, the college things crash.
What I want to do, so here's my vision. And I think this is like the easiest way I can explain it. It's kind of like what I look up to Elon Musk and what he did with the auto industry. So Elon, he didn't go to Ford or GM and Mercedes and all these car companies and be like, you guys need to make an electric car, like gas is bad. Like no, he went and he made his own company. And I think that's the number one thing that I learned from going on tour is like, I'm like, whoa. And we busted into a college class and I asked the professor, what did I ask him? I was like,
you asked him like
why is college why is college so important? Something like that. Or why is college so necessary? Why do you need to go to college? And he's like, oh, because college is awesome. Like that's all they could say.
Gave him the statistic.
Yeah, I gave him the statistic about how stupid it is. My point is, I think so many people are going to school just because it's college and it's awesome.
But that's the American dream, right? The American dream used to be like
Totally.
like your 3 generations,
Yeah.
from both sides went to that school. It's your tradition.
Yeah.
America in the 40s and 50s and 60s, or dating back to 100 years, that like period up until I think like the 2000s, like it worked. The American dream was you go to college because I went to college, and you go to Clemson because Grandpa went to Clemson, or you go to, you know what I mean? You go to USC because we went to USC, and it's like this tradition that's followed on, and it's become
family,
this.
family pressure.
Dude, like without getting sidetracked, I'm 100% on board with what you're saying. I think from when I look at the Elon Musk example, he started his own company. So what I think we need to do is start our own universities. Like that's what I'm working on. I'm going to start my own school. I'm going to start my own university, and I want to accept all ages. And I want to give them the ability to get back to where we started with universities. And I'll get into that in a second. Like where we really truly started, which is giving education to people either for free or for a very, very, very small cost, just to make sure the educators are taken care of. I have some creative ways in mind that I can avoid that. But I want to put something out there that is so revolutionary that it forces the entire education system to have to change.
Sure. What is that?
I get exactly what you said there. I'm just trying to tie it back into it. Elon Musk went and created his own car company. Didn't try and sell an electric car to any manufacturer. Now every manufacturer makes
electric cars. Yeah, and they're behind.
Yeah,
they're behind.
Way behind. They have to make the electric car because they have to now compete against this company called Tesla.
Does that university of your picture of school need to happen inside of 4 walls?
I think so. I don't think in the traditional sense,
right?
Like where, what I see is a lot of these, and I got to go to like Finland and China and like really explore, and Germany and, all over the place and explore different schools. And I think where you get into some issues is that people that want to change the education system, they get really excited about new information. And so they start teaching just new information to kids, but yet they don't change the entire like actual structure of it, right? So you still have a teacher in front of the room. Maybe they're teaching better stuff, but they're still teaching kids. And I found out this is a fact. 95% of learning happens when you're teaching.
Huh.
So right now we have an education system that is structured for teachers.
Yeah.
For teachers to be the ones who are learning the most. So
because they're consuming probably the information in a different way.
And they're having to teach it.
Yeah.
Which you don't know something until you teach it.
Yeah.
So that's
true.
I would literally all you have to do is just take the education system, flip it upside down, let the kids run the classroom, let the teacher be a facilitator. And it's not even really a teacher. Like I went to this school called Moonshot Academy in China, and they changed it from students to learners and from teachers to it was mentors,
facilitators, or
guides. I think it was. So that's what I would do.
So it's learners and guides,
learners and guides.
And
I think that's what I would do. I would make the classroom something where, really our focus is just about helping them try different things. Because that's what education should be.
Yeah.
Like when you look back into ancient schools or ancient ways of education, like that we've been successful with because we've gotten to this point, it was mainly apprenticeships and it was mentorships, and it was just like going and working. Like when you were 14, you started like working in the local, market or the local economy, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I think we should go back to.
I think there are 100% like avenues for those group-led experiences to change, like you've just said, but also avenues for what I've been mentioning is like this individualized pathway as well. Of like, what are the resources and tools that we can really give to an individual that's not in a group situation to be able to learn more about who they are and where they want to go and how they're going to get there. And I think a big piece of where the future of learning and education is going too is tying in kind of these, you talked a lot about the creativity, right? And I think like having kind of those, a buzzword right now in education is power skills, right? Which is something with Find Your Grind we're trying to incorporate a lot of, which are really these like creativity, communication, knowing how to work with teams, like collaboration, like all those type of things that are going to be worth way more in terms of the whole individual in 2040 than like an academic diploma from God knows what you got a degree in. You know what I mean? So like, I think incorporating more of those type of skill sets or those power skills when it comes to group-led products, individually led products, I think is key for where I feel like education and learning overall needs to go. Right?
Definitely. Completely agree. I think, and I really admire what you guys are doing with curriculum. Like you guys are bringing a new curriculum to schools, that's a huge challenge, man. And I've gotten to see the behind the scenes in the curriculum. It's sick. Yeah. It's sick. I love what you guys have put together. And I think, that's necessary. I'm not trying to dog the fact that, the schools can change, but I think, what I think you guys have here in this building is in a sense a 21st century school. Yeah. Like you can have everybody come in, create podcasts, you can create businesses, and you can create all these things. Like you're creating something that can be duplicated and can shake up the system. Sure. And then you guys also have the curriculum, so you're facilitating that change in a traditional setting as well. And I'm sure what you're finding too is like in these traditional settings within, K through 12 schools, it's very hard to change. Very hard, man, especially with standardized tests. Like you still have to test. Yeah. And like, I don't think we're going to get anywhere. I think what the conversation instead of student debt should be is let's eliminate standardized tests and let's restructure the way college admissions is conducted. Yeah.
I love that.
They need to change that. But like you said, it's a culture thing. Like just go to a college football game and that's when you'll see the culture of college. Like you see grown men, and I used to be one of them. You're in the stands like crying over a football team. Like there's dudes who are 20 years old, 19 years old,
and they're not even getting paid.
No, they're not
getting
paid.
There's 100,000 people in the arena. They got a training facility that's better than the Oakland Raiders. Yeah, and then none of these kids are ever going to play pro football.
Right, and you're crying over it. You're like you're feeling bad when your team loses. Like you're putting your life on this. Like, and then you're sending your kids there because you want them to get that experience. But now it's $30,000-$40,000 more than what you paid. It's crazy, man. We're duping people.
I've been saying it, and I hate to say it, but the American dream is not what the American dream used to be. It's over, and people need to think about what the new America is and move towards that, and not try and live back in the old American dream. Definitely. Because the old American dream is just getting more and more people in debt on a degree they're never going to use. In my opinion,
can anybody be an Ironman athlete?
Oh, I like that.
You've done 2 already. I mean, what's the deal, dude?
I mean, I think anybody can for sure, but it depends. Like you gotta, for Ironman, it's interesting because you have to develop the swimming, and for me, I was a swimmer, but I had to develop the running and the biking. Yeah. So those are completely different.
You did your first one about how long ago? 2 years ago?
Last September.
Okay. And you just were like, I want to do this just because I want to prove to myself I can do it.
Yeah. So I did a triathlon, and after I left school and I left the swim team at Michigan State, I kind of like stopped working out. Like I'd swam for my whole life, so I was like, dude, I've worked out.
Swimming's tough. A lot of people don't realize how tough like swimming is.
Totally.
Yeah. Like 4 a.m. every morning, like six days a week is like you're 8 days in the pool is like what you're supposed to do.
Brutal.
It's
brutal. And I was like just spent, man. I was second in the state in the 100 back. I placed really well in the 200 back, and like it was my life. Like I that was everything. And so when I set that down, I was like, you know what? I'm going to like step away.
Can anybody do this? Like, I mean, in your mentality, like you came from that, you were a swimmer, you were this and that.
I don't think everybody can. Right. I think, if you set your mind to it, you can though. Sure. You definitely can. I think you just got to like really put the time in. And like when I did the first Ironman, it was funny because I had like 4 months until the event, and I didn't even have a bike. So I was like, the first thing I did, I didn't.
Yeah, same with me, dude.
That's what you got to do, man. I think that's the.
Nick just started Run Club 2 weeks ago. He's ready to go though.
Do it. I respect it, bro. I see it. I see it in your eyes.
Let's go, dude.
I think the best thing you could do if you're looking to do an Ironman is just sign up for one.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, if I want to do one, I'm just going to sign up. Like, because then I'm actually doing it.
Yeah, and it's cool because they have, like, the smaller versions of the Ironman. So the first one, I guess, that I'm doing is this, what is it, the Olympic triathlon, which is 6 mile run, 0.5 mile swim, and 25 mile bike, which seems doable.
Yeah.
Seems totally doable, but that's, like, first.
Yeah, so I did that. That was the first one I did. I didn't really train much. So
Dingo's going to do it with me, too.
Dope.
Yeah. I'm on the sideline.
No, I got him a custom Speedo for the thing.
Yeah, you already signed up, bro. You got to go to the racing Speedo.
Stay in that Speedo for the bike.
The banana hammock is ready to rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the Olympic, and I remember after I finished the Olympic, I was like, jeez, dude, I cannot do an Ironman.
Yeah.
There's no way. And then I don't know, like a year passed, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sign up for one, and I'm going to just like figure it out.
Just throw yourself into the fire and do it. You ate plant-based, or you still do?
Yeah, I was completely
How
vegan.
much do you contribute that to, like, helping you? Do you believe in it? Obviously you do.
Well, okay, so here's the thing is, yes, I'm a huge proponent of plant-based eating, but you really got to know what you're doing. And I would definitely say that even when I did my first Ironman and even on my second Ironman, I knew so much less than I know now because of just, like, going into the fire and doing it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to eat only plants, you got to be smart, man.
Yeah.
You really do. You got to be smart with how you're getting your protein and what kind of foods you're eating, and your body has to adapt. Like, it's not some, like, easy.
You can't just shift over to the thing. I know. It's like.
We did it. We were plant-based for 3 weeks, cold turkey. And I went from going, like, on, like, a weird, just straight protein diet.
Yeah.
To then doing, like, straight plant-based. And
you probably had some crazy energy. Switches, huh?
Dude, I got like
Ding and I looked at each other in the office after 3 weeks. We were like, it's time for a burger.
Yeah.
We went got a burger.
Yeah.
That was the
Were you
best.
just like hallucinating?
Yeah.
Were you, like, seeing,
I
like,
was just kind of
burgers walking
gone.
around?
Like, I was just like, we went like cold turkey too. We're a little bit off.
Yeah.
You know, like, plant-based, we can like do that. And like 2 weeks we're in it. We got the Happy Cow app, and it's like easy to eat plant-based here in Los Angeles.
It is.
But then like we felt it, and we looked at each other one day and we're like, we're done.
Yeah.
I was just like, I feel weird.
Yeah.
I feel so weird. And I needed a
moderation, right? I feel like with anything, you just got to kind of coast. And I don't think it is for everybody, to be honest. I think everyone has a different blood type, a different body, it's not probably meant for everyone.
You got to dial it in, man. It's like you got to supplement. You got to have like all of the like superfoods down. Like if you're gonna just like go to the restaurants around here and like that's gonna be the only food you eat, you're not gonna get all the nutrients you need, and your body's going to feel it.
Yeah,
and that's what like I made that mistake big time. And then once I started to like really research some superfoods and some things that you can buy online that help you get the same nutrients.
What are those things?
A bunch of different stuff. Like I know there's like a type of algae that you can have. That
Air One.
He's like Air One's clutch, bro. Air One's clutch.
He's like, it's called meat.
Yeah, it's called steak. No, it's like you can have chia seeds, tempeh, hemp seeds, flax seeds. You can do like.
But you really got to look for it. Like a lot of people don't realize, and I think what's happening now too is because it's getting more and more common. Maybe that's just here in Los Angeles, but everybody's like, "Oh, we're vegan," or "We're trying to eat vegan," but nobody's actually doing research on it or on what their body or what their family history has needed. Some of us need meat. You know what I mean? Like your whole family traditions going all the way back. Like your blood was built on certain meat. You know?
I heard a really good quote. It's a lot of people say you are what you eat, but. I forget where I heard it from, but he said you are what your ancestors ate.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, so my philosophy is that I think we can change our genes, right? By what we consume, by even the thoughts that we think, like the genes that we pass on, we can change. We can get rid of some, but generationally, you know, you still pass down stuff like regardless. So I think in order for more people to go vegan, it's just going to be a generational thing. I think as more people like go vegan for their whole lives and they figure it out, then their body can handle it, and then they have a kid. Because I know some of my friends, like one of my friends, his name is Nimai. He's a bodybuilder. His parents were vegan, and so he was vegan since birth.
Yep.
And the dude is jacked.
Oh,
crazy.
Yeah.
So I think like some people, like genetically, because they were handed down those genes, I think So it's something that like, dude, it's deep. It's a lot
but
deeper
you're right.
than like just switch it over.
I know people here in LA that have having like vegan kids. Their pregnancy, they were vegan. They mentioned they're coming out. So like their bodies will get
vegan babies.
Vegan babies.
Yeah, my
Los
business
Angeles.
partner has two vegan babies.
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a thing.
Amazing, dude. I think you have some amazing statistics, thoughts,
Thank you, bro.
experiences, all of it that have added
Same
up to
with
a
you
lot
guys.
of like epic information and knowledge about what you're doing, man. And it's super, super cool. We always have a question that we like to toss out at the end.
What do we got?
And I'm going to hit you with it right now.
All right.
What does it mean to find your grind?
Ooh, I love that. What does it mean to find your grind? Man, I would say to me it means finding something that you're really passionate about, but you're willing to like put in the like hard work on the days that you don't want to, but you love it so much that you're willing to do it. Like, to me, find your grind doesn't mean like, oh yeah, find what makes you happy. It's going to be super easy. Like, I don't think that really exists. I think like if you find something you love, you got to put in like the hard work.
Yeah.
To me, that's what that means.
I love
I'll
it.
keep you posted.
And where can people find you?
Spencer Vibes, and then you can find my company, which is Vibe Source. So
Sweet.
it's with a Y.
Cool.
VYBES.
Sweet.
Yep.
All right. Awesome, man.
That was cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was deep.